Love this background music. Hello, namaste. Welcome everyone to Planetary Gig Talk, Tales of Music and Magic. I'm your host, Jefferson Glassie, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gig Society, whose mission is making connections through music with the intention of bringing peace and harmony, coherence, all kinds of good stuff. And we're just going to start right off here by introducing this fabulous cellist, Michael. How are you, Michael?
Doing great, Jefferson.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste. So this is, we never thought there might be a part two, but it's a part two, or it's a part some number of the first discussion that Michael and I had at Wooten Woods in 2018, out in the pavilion underneath the stars with the crickets and the armadillo. And it was really a fabulous conversation. I learned a lot. I really enjoy talking with Michael, listening to Michael, and hearing what he has to say. And hopefully you all will too, and check out that earlier podcast if you'd like. It's not an audio, it's a video podcast. But I just wanted to start briefly with how that happened. I had the music lesson book that Victor Wooten wrote. It didn't find me until about 2015 or 16, something like that. But it was really it was so profound. It was one of the things that sort of led us to start the Planetary Gig Society because of its focus on really the power of music. And I wanted to interview Victor. I ended up going down for Music Nature Camp in 2018, and that was amazing. And I got to interview Victor. And that was interview number 50. I'd interviewed a whole bunch of other people before that, but I really had, for the whole time, I had wanted to be able to get the time with Victor. And then I heard Roy Wooten say, well, his favorite was Spirit of Music Camp. So I said, okay, I'm going to that. And that fall, I went to Spirit of Music Camp. And Michael, well, I would say I was sitting in the woodshed, if people know the Wooten Woods, talking with my friend Alex Landry. And she was telling me, well, there was a person who was sort of the inspiration for Victor's character, Michael, in the book, The Music Lesson. I said, wow, I would love to have a podcast interview with him. And we walked out the door and Michael walked by. It was sort of a synchronicity. And within a couple days, I had asked him if he would be willing to do a podcast interview, and that's kind of how that all started. And since then, I feel Michael has been sort of an inspiration and a friend, and we just recently talked about, I think there's more to talk about. So with that sort of introduction, Michael, it's so good to see you. You're looking fabulous there. And how are things? What's on your mind? How are things going?
Namaste, Jefferson. Listen, we're in Santa Fe, New Mexico at Frogville Studios. And today with you named Hermeticism, and also we're getting into some other areas, resonance, fractal time, and quantum reality. All those things figure into the vibrational nature. So we're on the vibrational road, man.
Okay, that's a great place to start, a great place to be. You did talk a lot the last time we spoke about intention and perfecting intention. And how are you? What are your thoughts about these days?
Right away, as you mentioned, intention. which to me is like the roots of compassion. And intention is what arises out of acceptance.
Hmm.
And the intention is a response to compassion. And then the intention leads to action. And then the circle of compassion begins over again with acceptance, compassion, intention, acceptance, compassion, intention. And this is our human cycle that we're able to live and be with others.
Acceptance. So acceptance starts it off. Acceptance of the moment, or
Let's say that you were to start with something very small, that you just accept that you're actually experiencing it or seeing that it's true, and that your acceptance begins to regard all things as your immediate reality, accepting it. And that's the environment, the situation, the world, accepting everything as it is. And as you do that, you're immediately in compassion for what you see and what you know. And then immediately as your compassion takes hold, you will form an intent. And the intent is mainly to help others in some way, which is your personal destiny that arose out of your acceptance and your compassion and your intent. It may seem like a small thing, but it's made from your reality, which you accept as real.
and if you're not accepting it, then you're fighting it, right? I guess you're
Well, the idea of the middle way is you don't fight it, but you don't give in to it either. You're in the middle. You accept things the way they are. I accept that you and I have some things to talk about, and that, I have been led to this all my life. So now we are in the intent to convey some ideas to people that may lead them to a place of unity.
Mm.
You mentioned things like the one. The one is a great idea.
The one.
Yeah, once you get to the one, if you're in that place, then you're vibrational, and the vibration has reached you. When you recognize the one.
I sort of concluded in some of my writings that love is oneness. Just
Guaranteed. Yeah, guaranteed. In every dimension, oneness.
and guarantee
The state of things is the one.
the one. It's all.
Yeah. You can actually look at it as a liberation, because it settles everything right there.
It's the whole field.
Yeah. And it's a cosmic field of vibration that it exists in all dimensions and in all time. It even makes time, There's only the now, Jefferson.
You mean now?
Yeah. I mean, like when I said it before, now it's now, pretty
not-
funny.
Yeah.
All we really get is now.
Power now. So, I mean, music is one of the, it's sort of the focus of our conversation in many ways. So how does this cycle of acceptance, compassion, intention, how does that sort of apply in music, or playing music, or listening?
This is fantastic. You're right. You hit the nail right on the head. Jefferson, the intention was literally named as the starting point for ultra high frequency vibration that arises out of the presence of the offering of vibration by a player, a live human being, singing or playing, and that an ultra high frequency vibration that is apparently not even an artifact, it's the real vibration of intention, arises out of a human being in that action and is felt over distance. As a compassion, a feeling of compassion and caring in the offering of vibration, so that the sound of an instrument is only part of it, and that at the moment of the vibration occurs in the playing, another vibration which is coming out of the vibration of intention is also in a way present. It's not really transmitted like a radio. It's like it's radiating out of a human being, and it's independent of even time and distance. It's part of what human beings are capable of. And it's written into the animal world also.
Is this like, would you call it cosmic intention?
No, I'm saying that the intention is what human beings are able to form or inner realm in their mind that is leading toward an compassionate action. There are other intentions, but it wouldn't be about what we're talking about.
So if you're having an intention as a musician playing or singing, your intention is to offer vibration.
Yes.
And
yes.
And that vibration can include acceptance, compassion, and more intention for the recipient to.
Well, if you think of it as something that happens like right now. I have this bow. I intend to use it. I have this instrument. I have already tuned it. And now I intend to put the bow to the instrument, and there will be something that reflects my intention to offer a healing vibration in a very simple tone. Here comes Jefferson.
Well, in spite of the intention, Zoom is not hearing that. But I am getting your intention.
Seems simple at first, but all those tones that came out of the instrument, my intention is what forms the tones. And it's not exactly in a musical realm. It's something where I say, I'm holding this instrument, I'm making the tone on this instrument. Here's another example. Portamento. Which crosses all of the universal frequencies that are what we call the upper partials of the cosmic fundamental, which means there is one vibration throughout all of the, we'll just call it the living cosmos, the part that has perception, but it's actually everything. And that one vibration is in a realm where anything that's resonant with that vibration forms all of matter, all of energy, gravity, all of the things that we regard as phenomena are coming from a vibrational place. That is what we're made of, is a vibrational reality that is in fractal time so complete that it's written everything already 100 million times with its vibration, including us, including star formation, whatever you want to regard as a phenomenon. It's all written in the vibration.
So what I'm thinking of, what this reminds me of, I'm not sure if this is where you're going, but you did turn us on to the book Nada Brahma.
There it is.
The World is Sound.
Yes.
By Joachim Ernst Berendt.
What a book. Great book.
Amazing. You know, we after we had that podcast discussion, there were several of us who listened to it, and everybody was like, oh my God, they got the book, started reading it. It said, I think we need a book club to help really understand some of this, because it is complex. But two things on that. I remember talking with some Indian people at an Indian restaurant, as one does. And I said, what does this mean to you, Nada Brahma? And they said, it really means everything in the universe is created by sound, comes from sound. And then my friend Raj, who I think you may have met online or in discussions from the music ashram, Raj, in Rishikesh, he was telling me about the Naad, N-A-A-D, the Indian concept of Naad. And there's two types of Naad. Well, really, maybe that's simplifying it too much, but there's the Anahata Naad, which is the unstruck sound. And then there's a Hata Naad, which is all the sound that is struck, which is basically, I think, all sound except for that one underlying sound. I mean, is that kind of what you're talking about? That underlying hum, om, whatever it is, that underlying...
No, what I wanted to do with you is start at the upper limits, which apparently is not even a vibration, it's a pulse. And the recent finding is there is a pulse that occurs at below the quantum, which is 22 trillion pulses per second. 22 trillion is not a frequency. It's not a vibration. But those 22 trillion pulses are an alternating reality that occurs 22 trillion times per second between existence and non-existence, creation and destruction. Mm-hmm. So that this pulse, 22 trillion times a second, creates and destroys everything over and over again forever. And from this emerges a cosmic fundamental, which goes all the way down to the lowest note ever detected, which has a wavelength of 30,000 light years. So that's a low note. Still, in there, if you take the entire realm of vibration that the cosmos is, it is a realm that has resonance with that vibration that occurs from the bottom all the way up to 22 trillion pulses. And that resonance and that vibrational reality results in the end. The result is the physical universe and all its energy. I think eventually it'll be shown that it includes dark energy. In other words, vibrational all the way. And that we are written in vibration. All of matter and energy written in vibration. Gravity written in vibration. And when I say written in vibration, it means that it can be characterized as a vibration.
Yeah, electromagnetism,
Yeah. And the beauty of it is it's highly organized. It's a very coherent thing that when it's in resonance, everything that we see in nature is a resonant vibration with all of the things that are already in the cosmic fundamental and the cosmic tone. That one source of vibration is so written into all that is that it's no wonder that it was encountered and studied even in the Mayan culture. And they characterized vibration as radiative. In other words, radiating out of the center of all things, which you hear in other traditions also. Radiating out of the center of all things is a vibrational nature, which especially a musician connects with that. And that this is a very ancient tradition, and is absolutely connected to the original design and purpose of musical vibration, which was medicine. And that's 5,000 years of using an instrument to bring a person into vibrational harmony or resonant. Harmony is another thing, but resonance. We witness harmony and resonance, and we regard it as growing things. Artificial life has been demonstrated many times using a vibrational model, and from that vibrational model, you can grow a tree. Tree.
So you talked about, at one point in our last discussion, the cosmic intention, which I mentioned a minute ago. So is this whole realm of the fundamentals from down there to up there, is that have intention?
Well, here we are in the realm of intention, and with what I've just offered in words, what I'm referring to is something that leads endlessly in a human being toward the intention. And the intention is immediately greeted with compassion as a practice. So the compassion immediately seeks the response, which is intention. Compassion leads to intention. Intention leads to action, compassionate action. And then we go back to the acceptance that what we have done is, that was the right action. We have to accept that what we did was right. Then you're led to some other experience where you have compassion, which leads you to your intention, and it is a circle.
So that seems like it may be just inherent in the fundamental.
Yes, like all happening at once. It's the holographic. So the holographic nature in this is very important to refer to, and it has to do with how it's not the complexity. It's actually the simplicity of all the phenomena that we perceive being the result of the vibrational nature of all things, and that our perception is built on the vibrational nature of our bodies. The best illustration of this is the chakras. Each chakra has a different characteristic of vibration, and that these chakras that are in the body, that's what you've been doing, Jefferson. You've been aligning your chakras.
Well, I do. I use a tuning fork on myself every day on my various, just,
Yeah.
uh,
It's so interesting too, because a lot of these things, if you start to measure them, and you see that some of the things we call the natural resonance, some of those things are fractions of a hertz. The example, that's a really big example, something called the Schumann resonance.
it's,
And this is something that once you look into it, you can see that the vibrational nature of planetary bodies. They detected actual notes coming out of the different planets.
that makes,
Uranus, tones that came from the interaction of their magnetic field with the sensors on the spacecraft. All those things are a sign of the vibrational nature, but it is in music that we get to, let's say, point music, like musical tones, like a pointer toward something that allows the mind to resonate with the natural frequencies. Why
yeah,
there's all this discussion about the frequency of the note A, and the idea of what frequency is closest to what's happening on Earth. Apparently, it changes a little bit from day to day, and gravity even changes a little bit from day to day.
that would make sense.
Yeah.
So this reminds me, I read this book called The Silent Pulse by George Leonard.
There it is.
I don't know if you,
Love it.
so it kind of summarizing that, although it was very complex, and sometimes when I read books that are complex and I don't think anybody else is going to read, I'll just do a little video book report on them. But I would say sort of the essence of that is, I mean, everything is vibration, but we each are just, like Victor talks about, fingerprint. Like I think from that, I understand every thought, every intention, everything is a little vibrational fingerprint. But what George Leonard said is it is all holographic, so that the entire universe is in that little bitty fingerprint of energy. A friend of mine calls it a puniverse. But how do you, what is it? Is that the way to think about when you say the universe is holographic or whatever? Is that the way to think about holographic? How do we get our minds around the holographic universe?
Now, already we're in something where, Jefferson, I know you've been meditating again. And in meditation, the Zen sitting meditation, the quieting of the mind, this is well known. And out of the quiet mind arises an intention. But the holographic nature of the quiet mind is like, man, it's infinite. As soon as the realm of thoughts is set aside and the mind is very quiet, then you are in something that in Hawaiian medicine, Huna medicine, would be called ho'oponopono. Ho'oponopono means that you are naming your unity with all that is. And that is also very Zen. But all these things arose out of the quality of the mind at rest at meditation, where it was seen that that was a different state, and that as the mind became quiet, you became more unified with this resonance. And there is not just one frequency. We're talking about everything resonating at once, because that's hologram. Something that is holographic is everything resonating at once you and everything around you in recognition of the vibrational reality, which usually, unless you really give it a chance, isn't going to be that apparent because we live in a very noisy world.
Mm. Yeah, that's for sure. So another thing, we're sort of just all spitballing here in a way, but I've been thinking, as we do, about quantum physics and that sort of that observer and the observed phenomenon. I think it comes from one of the double slit experiments sort of shows that you
Fantastic. Let's just cut to the chase here.
Okay.
Talking about the observer, it's actually a observer paradox. And truly, what is observed and the observer, they turn out to be in the holographic nature. They're changing places. They're changing places.
Mm.
Like for you a second. So it's like you're observing something, but then your observation of it has changed it. And then you are going to be observing something, and that turns out to be infinite. So that the that's the other one. Reverberation through time in resonance with the cosmic fundamental. Huge, because musical vibration is well known to travel outside of time, outside of place, and truly, and this is known since ancient times, throughout all dimensions. Music is able to be felt throughout all dimensions, unseen and seen. And it's not only what is heard, there's something that's felt, and that these things turn out to be, in the holographic realm, eternal. And that our notions of time are based on the thermodynamics of our life processes more than anything. We're stuck with it. We're kind of stuck where we are until you do the practice. And in the practice, you are liberated from the constraints of being an organic, physical human being. And you can see some of these things easily that we're referring to. You can see them.
Yeah, so the observer and the observe phenomenon, it did occur to me, well, if I'm observing something and I kind of create it, I make that wave or that possibility, really, that possibility into a thing, into a particle. Well, it's doing the same to me. So
absolutely.
The observer becomes the observer. But, we're thinking.
It made you. Everything you're looking at is what made you, Jefferson.
Everything what?
Everything you would look at is what made you. So it's something made something, and the thing that it made is going to witness it or see it. Right?
Yeah.
But I tell you, in the realm of music and healing tones in particular, there is a cosmic realm, a cosmic nonverbal realm that is really moving toward what you see in whales. The recognition that their presence and their song is like so infinitely glorious that when a whale says what it says, you're given a window into the vibrational nature of all life and life throughout all the living universe. There's no way that there isn't life throughout all the universe, trillions of galaxies, numberless number.
Excitations in the field.
Yeah, vibration, excitations, Beach Boys type stuff.
Right.
Good vibrations throughout the living cosmos. And there are and have been individuals throughout human history who were obviously communicating not only with all life on Earth, they were setting something in motion that would be felt by living, sentient, conscious beings, not even in the future, in the moment it happened, in the moment it's created. Here's an example. They gave me time on a solar-powered radio station to play the cello electronically on the radio, solo, and using what I had, I did 20 minutes of whale song that were sent out as a radio signal from the Earth and traveled at the speed of light for 5 years. After 5 years, that radio signal, which was the sound, the actual vibration of a living creature on the Earth that I was imitating, reached Alpha Centauri. If there were oceans there, if there were whales there, if there were sentient life that had ever heard a whale sing, and they had oceans and whales, they might recognize that the sound of a whale came from Earth, and they would know. But that same radio wave keeps on going until it gets mixed in with everything else that's a radio frequency in the living cosmos. It's not that we're going to communicate. It's that you finally see that if you hear the song of a humpback whale, you're at the same time, because of the nature of our reality, hearing the sound of every whale that ever existed in the entire universe, somewhere else. And there are whales and such things in oceans throughout the universe. Somewhere. There's no way to get to them except through the mind.
Well, we'll have to go that way. So,
yeah.
So on this,
but capable.
So on the thought of the observed and the observer, this is the very simple way. Just point A and point B. We got point bazillions. Every different thing has the same perspective. Has the same. All of this is happening at the same time. This is not like linear or like write it down on a paper or something. This is in all directions, in all dimensions, as you say, in all times, at kind of at the same time. And one of the things I have been thinking about in that regard, about people say, well, I don't see how quantum physics really works in my life. About this, creating the observed and all that, and it seems to me that this is consistent with the as above, so below, as within, so without, that one of the principles of Hermeticism, that well,
let's put it this way: above, below, observer, observed. These are terms that we've had to use out of everyday life. In the quantum realm, you can you will actually not really be able to use very many words.
Right, but it does. So what I was thinking of, say you're just walking somewhere, or you're doing something, you're sitting and you're thinking, well, I might do this, or I might do that, or maybe I'll go to the store, or I might pick up my guitar or whatever. And these are all possibilities. They're just like everything in the field, are just possibilities. But when you put your attention on it, that kind of what creates it or makes it happen. I'm going to go to the store. And so then that happens. And it's just an interesting, there's so much of the things that you're talking about that seem, out there in a sense, but they're really just all we have in another sense.
There is something you've mentioned which we have to talk about now.
All right.
Intention. The intention that we're talking about is when you form an intention in response to compassion. And that is what is about the healing tones, is that compassion and your intention to make an offering of healing vibration. That's a very specific intention. And then the other things that we might say are intention, you know, those are other realms of activity and behavior that are like also regarded as intention. But when we're talking about your intention to be of service, your intention to make an offering of healing, that's very specific. And it is in the regard of what is also the basis and the explanation of what is created in the act of prayer. In the act of prayer, the way the prayer is made turns out to be very specific, very important. But the prayer that is the one that apparently is a real prayer is all gratitude. And thank you for this. Thank you for this. Thank you for this. Thank you for all things. Thank you for, because that's all you have time for. And that everything else is already provided in a vibrational world that made you and everything in it, and will destroy you and everything in it, make it over again and everything in it. And this is the lesson of not only fractal time, but what we call eternal time. We get the now. We're organic human beings. We get the now. That's the way we're built. We don't have an archive. Our memories, when we have our memories, our memory is destroyed, and we have to replace it with a new one made out of whatever's left. Memories get destroyed as you have them. You have to remake the replacement memory after you have the memory. Everything gets rewritten. Everything gets deleted, discarded, destroyed, and then remade 1 billion times. And we act as if a human being has, a very finite time, like the blink of an eye, which is equal to any insect. Mayflies live for a day. Birds live for 2 years. There are all kinds of things. Dogs have an unbelievably short lifetime for who they are. But the idea of duration of time, duration of events, this is why we were liberated with a prayer, meditation, even solitude was a gift. Solitude was a gift. Solace is a gift because it offers you the opportunity to be in recognition of the resonant place that nourishes the human spirit. The noise destroys the human spirit. The resonance nourishes it. Harmony. There's harmony in nature. The structure of a leaf is from literally can be expressed in a mathematical equation that leads to what a leaf looks like. In a plant, mix that leaf out of sunlight, water, and nutrients. Unbelievable, but it does it. And it's because that vibration wrote the leaf, and the leaf is written in a holographic way where when everything's present, the leaf happens. And that's another kind of holographic reference to holographic.
And
this even emotional. The data is almost worthless. The vibration is more emotional than it is something that you measure. You feel it.
And so with the leaf, that's also sort of like as above, so below, as within, so without. The roots and shoots, the tree looks like the roots, and if we're kind of nice inside, it's out there, but meaning that everything corresponds. I think that's really what that that principle says, and I guess that's holographic as well. I mean, we think something is different over there, and boy, look at that badger. That's a weird looking thing, but it's all the same. It's all comes out of the same kind of blueprint, I think.
How many and how long has it been since all things were referred to as the design of the Almighty Creator? And you are, you're a perfect example of that. We have in the presence and the reality that we live in, the design, the cosmic design that occurs in this place. When everything's ready, this is what you get. And you can be inside it, inside the mind. You can experience it because you're not really observing something. You're not using data. Jefferson, in the present time, all data emerges as something that is no longer has any meaning. You have to go with your feelings. Emotion is a perfect vibrational place.
And acceptance of that.
Acceptance, as acceptance grows greater, so is the liberation. The great liberation.
So, one thing I did want to talk about, there's so many things. I've got a few things I wrote down here, but when you mentioned about the whales and the song of the whales, when some people have participated in Fonging, they've said it sounds like whales mating.
Yes. Now here's a good example of something that is really not that hard to visualize if you come at it from the point of view of the Fong. Because the whale, this is fractal time. If I took this, I met people who observed a humpback whale giving birth, and they said the mother screams. But in the lesson of fractal time, a tiny little part of any sound that whale makes holds in its vibration, and not just connection, it's one and the same with the vibration of all life throughout the living universe, throughout all of time, from all the whales who have ever lived, all the whales who will live, all the whales that are live in oceans of planets that haven't been formed yet, everything happening over and over again 100 billion times, because it's written in the vibration. And that the more we can attain let's say maybe even a habit of being in that place is why music is such a great gift, because inside music we have this immediate and ever-present reminder that there is a path to this place, and this really is what we're talking about here.
The path to the place.
Healing tones lead to the place that allows peace and the quiet of the mind. You might be tired from dancing, but in the end, you have peace. A lot of excitement, then you have peace. Or you are in the meditation upon a tone. That's why the tambura is always used. That's the sound of eternity.
Mm-hmm.
That's the sound of the ground.
The ground,
that's the sound you can go into as deep as you want, and you will not be disturbed. The other things that appear in those realms. The other one would obviously be the Shruti box. How many times did they say, oh, we want to chant now, let's bring the Shruti box. The Shruti box makes the basis for the chanting. It holds it in that place. It's a tonal center. But what is the tonal center of the cosmos? The tonal center of the cosmos is the one thing that forms all of the vibration of all things throughout the entire living cosmos, which for us is an infinite place. That we can never use data to get to that place. We use our human body, our human spirit, and in that place, we get to sense it. We get to be in that place.
It's like the Anahatanad. It's like you can sense the.
Thank you, Alahatana, and that this is why samsara and samadhi and the way of life of these people is so ascetic, and that they need so little. A cup of tea, rice. They need so little because they are nourished by this. It's not a connection. It's what everything's made of, radiating out of the center of all things. The Mayan word for it is hanapku, and you just said the word for it. That is from the Sanskrit, from Hindu, and it's very well known because already for thousands of years, these questions were discussed, among very learned men.
Well, so when you were talking about the whales and the scream of the mother, are they special, or is that's the same with us? I mean, when I go out in the woods and put a thought out, does that resonate the same way as the whales scream everywhere?
This is really, 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 really great because already what happened was they built this huge sound system in the wilderness in Iceland, and they connected it to a portal where people could scream into the wilderness from all over the world. And then they found out that hikers would go out there and listen to the screams coming in from all over the world and being amplified on this huge sound system. You can look it up. The main thing is that we seem to value simultaneity, although in reality there isn't really any simultaneity. As soon as we say now's over and we're in the new now, and it's not what we can talk about really. But the vibrational part of it, again and again and again, because of fractal time and the meaning of our perception. Like right now, I'm talking with you and you're responding to me, and it feels like we're in the same moment, but we're not really. It just looks like that.
Mm-hmm.
So now that we're able to do this, we refer to something where at a certain point, we are in the same moment. You, Jefferson, and I, maybe not right now. When we get to a quiet place, then we can be in the same moment. And that is done without any technology. And it is done vibrationally. And this is a well-known thing that's been shown many times. And it's also remote. It can be remote. And I've witnessed even remote Qigong, where a person could be healed from a distance, vibrationally. And Qigong is another example of how the observation of a response to vibrational reality brings healing vibration into the body. This is the reality of Qigong. It's also the reality of other things that have led to realization. Currently, it's the Falun Gong. When we are experiencing Fong, the Fong that we are experiencing is a very refined apparatus that's an illustration of Fong, But the Fong that we've been talking about is a cosmic universal vibration that is expressed by the Fong into the human perception directly into the brain. But any vibration which introduces that cosmic place, tambura, larger instruments, and actually a microscopic piece of any musical tone, any note from any musical instrument, the human voice, even spoken words. The sound of your mother's voice has Fong in it. The sound of things that are pleasing to you have Fong. The reality of Fong is literally a quantum resonance that is felt in the human organism.
So when you're talking about the Fong, you're talking about that sort of fundamental vibration that you can perceive with your ears and your body.
The reason it's so good with vibrating metal is because it's so specific. But I do a concert series where each concert is a different element.
I know, yeah, with Loriana.
And the next one is calcium. Ill. The vibration of each of the individual elements is expressed in many different ways. Many elements are found in the human body. Calcium is definitely one of them. But our impression of what happened with the vibrational nature of things is that once you've named a certain place, because of the holographic nature of vibration and because of the holographic nature of the quantum reality and fractal time, as soon as you've introduced the intent to recognize what is human in an element, it writes itself. It's already written. In other words, by the intention of saying, hey, here's a concert and we're just saying it's about calcium, and these songs, we are in the intent of doing a performance of this song with calcium in mind. Suddenly that whole song sounds like it's relative to calcium.
Wow.
Just as if you're singing about another element, any of the other elements, you end up singing about all the elements at once. Calcium, all the way down to hydrogen, and all the way up to the heaviest, most dense, heaviest elements. All of those things are literally made out of each other and are each other at the same time.
And when you're putting your attention, it's your intention to put your intention on an element. I think you're communicating with the element and you're letting its elementness come out, as you're saying. You're sort of bringing that out.
Here's a good example of what I'm referring to. I have a concert. It's called Calcium. You know, the Elemental Concert Series. This concert is Calcium. And then I have the intent to express whatever the meaning of calcium is doing to me, and I start playing this instrument for the audience. And then there's a realization that I am partially made out of compounds that have calcium in them. Once we're in the vibrational, the perception of the vibrational realm, I'm something that is made of calcium, and that my intent is to express something calcium. How can I not express something calcium? I'm calcium expressing calcium, baby. You know? So that works out. That works out as a very kind of eloquent place, because it doesn't have to be poetry that's about calcium. But if it's something that has calcium in it, speaking poetry, that's automatically you're in the realm of a vibration that is connected to what you and I say is a not a spectrum, but literally a realm of vibration that runs from the very highest frequency possible, 22 trillion, which is not even a vibration, all the way down to something that has a wavelength to 30,000 light years. A note that can't be heard. It's in the form of gravity. Gravity is a note. Gravity is a frequency. So these things figure into our realm, but in the end, all we have is our feelings. No amount of data is ever gonna even come close to what we feel and what we know on our spirit. And that's why, human beings are human beings.
Yeah.
Get to go. We get to go.
We get to go.
Liberated.
So maybe you could help me with one other thing as we're talking about the Fong, because, I just, at college, some guy taught me about Fonging, I think, maybe at a party. I don't know. And for those of you who don't know, but what I need your assistance in is sort of explaining about this. So you take the rack out of your oven, put 2 shoestrings on it, hold it up like this, wrap the other end of the string around your fingers, bend over slightly from the waist, put your fingers in your ears. People tap on the rack, dong, 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 like that. You can't really hear much outside, but inside there's this sound, this deep resonance. And we started making fun about it. Oh, those are the healing sounds of the universe. Oh, I thought I heard mating whales. And then, I wrote one book about, an angel coming to this character named Erasmus Caffrey and being told he should bring the healing sounds of the universe around through Fonging. And, that was kind of an odd book. But then, honestly, being inspired by when Victor said, well, if you wrote a book, why wouldn't you do a soundtrack? I'm like, oh my God, I want to do a soundtrack. And you were the narrator, amazing narrator of that book. And, I wouldn't say it has been all that successful, but I think a lot of it is that people, it seems like it's silly, but it's more profound than you think. So could you comment on that?
My way into this today, Jefferson, was to illustrate the universality of Fong, and that once we've arrived at a perception of fractal time, once we've arrived at the notion of a vibrational reality where everything is vibrational, made out of vibration, the idea of the Fong apparatus is very specific to healing. And that's why you mentioned the tuning fork, which is, of course, a very refined Fong apparatus. But now what I wanted to do today was illustrate something that, using this instrument, is the Fong and physics of a string. And I'll use this to illustrate it. If I can get into the camera a little, you'll hear it more than see it, but this is the open string.
We hear a little bit of that. We don't hear it all, but
Hear that? You heard it all?
A little teeny bit.
Okay, do you hear this?
No.
What that?
Not exactly. It must be the settings, the input, or whatever. But anyway.
Hear that? You heard it, didn't you?
Well, in my mind's ear.
So you're saying that I was just playing this instrument and you were not hearing it through your speakers, right?
Right.
Okay. But you heard something. All right?
Yep.
This is no trick. This is the vibrational place that you named, which was the vibration, the resonance outside the mind, and the resonance inside the mind, where you hear this instrument For some reason, you're not hearing it through your speakers, but you're hearing it in your mind. The Fong apparatus produces a response, a perception. A perception is a response to a real physical vibration that is not actually what you're perceiving. It's like from the entire vibrating reality all around you. And it looks like something that is being struck, that is being conducted into your brain. But the perception of it is an inner reality that is, the chemistry of your nervous system. But it goes all the way down to almost like a Zen paradox where you're going, where does that perception come from? And then your response to it. You can, if you sing with that vibration, you may sing the same note, but based on your perception and even your nervous system, you might sing a note that is exactly 5 whole steps away from it. Because some human beings hear a note that's different than what other human beings hear. So our experience is totally malleable based on our electrochemical biology, our nervous system.
Yeah. So
Look at a stringed instrument. I'm saying this, since you don't hear it, I'll just show it to you. I'm saying, can you hear my voice? Do you hear what I'm saying? Okay, here's the instrument. Here's the string. The string starts here and it goes to here. If I play it, it's that note. But that note actually has an infinite number of notes that make the sound of that note. Many of them are in certain places along the string. There's one called the primary harmonic, which is exactly halfway down the string is a primary harmonic that's so discrete you can, I can't even, you can't hear it.
right.
But I can play it. You can't hear it now. The primary harmonic is a true Fong of the open string and is crystal clear. It wavers a little bit, but if you play it a certain way, it's like a bell. I'm surprised you can't hear it. Let me play this.
Yeah, on Zoom, sometimes it's the input settings.
Hear this?
No,
Anything? Not much.
it's
Anyway, this idea of a stringed instrument. The string is literally, one string on this instrument is literally a representation of the entire universe. It has on it, it doesn't have to be tuned. It's a string that has a certain tension, but on that string are nearly an infinite number of harmonics, not all of them visible. But the combination of all those harmonics makes the sound of the string. At any one time, by doing a certain technique, one of those tiny harmonics can be played, and that harmonic is a perfect tone that already exists inside the string, but you don't really hear it until you play the position of the harmonic, which is right here where my finger is. Now, if I want another one, I can go half the distance again, and there's another one here. Okay? And then there's another one here. And then there's another system of harmonics that's in a different set of fractions. It's mathematical, but it represents what's happening throughout all the vibrational universe is harmonics. So if this were the bottom note of the universe, or I'm sorry, this one, that's the bottom note of the universe. There's another universe that's an octave higher than that. There's another universe that's an octave higher than that. There's another universe in fractal time that's an octave higher than that. The same with time. Time is in octaves. It keeps dividing itself in half. It keeps going. And it goes all the way to the Zen paradox, which is what is the point, the center point of a circle, of a disc. What is the center point of a disc? It's infinitely small. You never get there. You never get to the center point. This is probably even something that's at the roots of mathematics, like calculus, Riemann geometry. All these things are an infinite realm of points. But even the infinite realm of points does not compare to the sense that we gain when we experience vibration. That is literally our only way into the great one and the great nothing at the same time. We see the expanse of the universe out of tones that we experience through hearing that represent that eternity, that infinite reality of vibration that we cannot really experience any other way. Why there are musical instruments, why they're singing,
Well, it's fascinating. So when you're talking about a Fong apparatus, it could be a lot of instruments, and it just so happens that the crazy oven racks make a certain type of observable.
It's an illustration of something that is so elemental and so written into all other kinds of things. For instance, my arm bone has frequency. The length of my arm has a certain frequency that's reflected in how I throw.
Mm-hmm.
I walk. My legs have a certain frequency, and there are, many things that fit into. Was the difference between vertebrates. A fish has this movement, and a whale has this movement. The reason a whale has this movement is it used to have legs, Jefferson.
Whale legs.
Yeah.
Wow.
Whales used to have legs.
So Tibetan bowls would be Fong.
Absolute. And that circular movement that concentrates the vibration. One of the difficulties with the Fong apparatus is the way when it's struck, the impulse is to strike it again. When in fact that first strike is what encompasses the Fong. If you obliterate it with a second strike, it doesn't have its full effect. So like when you have a Fong apparatus, you strike it one time like a gong. In the quantum realm, that strike, it never goes away. That vibration actually never ends in a quantum sense. That one act of this is blood and bone, analog, human being with a striker, strikes the bong. That's me striking the Fong. But as long as I don't strike it again, even as it's well known that the note's visible, but if I put my ear against it, it's visible for another minute. That string's still moving.
Yeah. That's one of the profound things that I learned in India there. We had a number of sound baths, and there aren't that many that I'm aware of here. I know there's a lot of people who give sound baths and things like that, but I was really taken by it because when you're in the middle of those bowls and they're striking them, and usually the way my teacher would do it is you strike one or two or three or however many, and then you let it go to silence, and then you add some more. It changes your brain waves. I mean, you go somewhere. And so I've been learning how to do that. I have some bowls. If you come to DC, I'll do a sound bath.
I'm working with someone now who's using singing bowls and made samples of singing bowls, and they have a whole system of music that's based on the vibration of singing bowls. But the idea of what happens with the bowl, it's no wonder that it's Tibetan. The vibrational place of the metal brass bowl is a circular Fong apparatus that makes this sustained tone. And I mentioned in the Council of Music Shamans Zoom, the recognition of this vibrational realm that's coming from sustained tones, and the sustained nature of the singing bowl is very important. And once you've arrived, in other words, once that tone's established and the person is meditating upon that sound, hey, they might only have meditated on it for 3 minutes. If a person's willing to play the bowl for 3 days and they meditate on the sound of the bowl for 3 days, the 3 minutes and the 3 days they're part of the same time. You don't compare them.
Yeah.
Once you've reached into that vibration, once you've come into it, time, location, they've been set aside. You're in an eternal realm of vibration, and that's the nature of the Fong. Why the gong bath and other things are so healing to people? Because once you've identified the vibration and you move into it in your inner mind, and you sense it and you feel it in the realm of feeling and sensing, the noise of all the other things that are going on around you is set aside, and you're with that one place of vibration, and that's a healing vibration because of it. It's a grounding effect. It's like
Grounding.
You got the effect.
Yeah, it's really profound. I find. Just to you mentioned the Council of Music Shamans, so I'll let me just explain for anybody listening about what that was. After our conversation at Wooten Woods, Michael, and knowing you for a while and working with you on some projects and some of these videos and things, I just thought, wow, what? Michael's like a music shaman or something. And then a friend of mine said, well, you're a music shaman too. And I said, well, you're a music shaman too. And so I kind of thought, well, they're probably, it's like we're all music shamans in a way, but there's some people who are more focused on music and the spiritual aspects of the power of music. And it would be good to have a group of people who might be able to think as music shamans might do or could do or should do or whatever, and communicate. And so far, all it is a Facebook page. But I thank you for the inspiration. And we do have something that, we try to, in a way, convince or suggest or encourage people that they are music shamans, and that there's not really a limit on how much they can, have effects or put their intentions out there. So I'll let you comment if you want to on that.
Well, this is like a great place for us to get to in our discussion. And it had to do with what is offered in the realm of musical vibration, which leads directly to healing in the healing vibration. And the example I give you is lullaby. First of all, there is an undulating kind of an undulating wave of the movement of the melody of a lullaby, which is in most instances arrives at something called 6/8 time or 12/8 time. In other words, in nature, we see a lot of threes, slow threes. If you count in threes, you can make it at a certain tempo. It matches the swells on the ocean. So this idea that there is an undulating movement, but the example of healing that is so powerful and why lullabies exist is the the sound of the mother's voice to the child, and that it's moving gently over what's not really a big sound, but it's the sound of the mother's voice, and that child is made from the mother. Her voice is 100% characterized by her, absolutely her genes, her ancestors, who she is, and the sound of her voice is something that, if the child hears it, is healed through it. And this is what's going on in the animal world, also, that as you recognize that if you took a tiny little piece of that mother's voice and you made it into one tone, that tone holds holographically all of the healing vibration of the entire universe in one place. It's holographic. This is true in many, many other ways that are that cross throughout all the dimensions of what we experience, which is from the cosmic dimension and looking at light that's 100,000 years old. We sense that there's a place that we know it's there, but the light that shows it's there is 100,000 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at something that may not even be there now. As we experience all these other things through our senses, it is the Fong of the mind, which in Sanskrit, in Hindu, there's a word for the Fong of the mind. It's the tone that's inside the mind that needs no strike. I can sense vibration without any apparatus, without any instrument. It's already there, and it can sound like a 100,000 watt sound system if I have the right thought. If I'm ready for it, but I can make it sound like anything. But the place that is held in our perception is built by evolution to sustain us through disasters and birth, life, and death. So the sound of someone's voice, especially if you have some of their genes, that turns out to be your connection to a living, breathing reality. And when people lose that connection, there are many names for that. They're considered to be disorders. If you are not able to experience humanness, you have a disorder. It's going to be a difficult life. To be a human being, if you're starting out as a human being, the more you can be a human being, you're already fully capable, fully designed to have all of the liberation, all of the enlightenment, all of the ascension that a human being can have if you move toward it. That's
in that book, The Silent Pulse, he kind of says that, people with some of the disorders, they're just really out of sync a tad, maybe, in their time or their perspective of their perception of sounds or something. I don't know if that's what you meant, but.
Well, here's a good example. For a long time that there was a category which was described as autistic. Now, in various ways, it's being shown that human beings are in let's call it a geometry of autism, where you not only get a certain degree of it, you get a certain kind of autism. A certain part of the autistic geometry that you fell into because of your DNA, and that it's not a disorder with anyone, but when a person is dysfunctional, there is such a thing. as dysfunctional. And even so, those individuals in other cultures and other times were often viewed as godlike and possessing special powers.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they do have. And the animal realm, the idea of behavior, our behavior is absolutely a response to the physical world, unless we're in the regard of a divine intent that came from acceptance of the world as it is, and the having compassion for the pain and suffering that other beings have to live, that may be overwhelming to them in the cause of healing vibration. The lullaby is calming and leads you on, puts you on a path toward a quiet, restful, peaceful place where you can be restored. It's not a total restoration. It's not a cure. It lifts everything off you just enough that you can get your bearings, get in sync.
So when you started talking about the lullaby, that was out of my comments about the music shamans. And are you kind of saying, well, there are people who focus on this some and who can help bring healing, or who have a more fundamental understanding because of music?
This is really a good point.
What is healing? I mean, people sometimes say, well, healing is kind of an overused word. What does that mean? You don't really like heal.
Probably the most.
So how do you talk? What do you think?
Probably the most I tell you today that has come from my own experiences. And that is, at first, it really seemed like you had to set everything up as a healing session. It turned out to be all about your intent. And that if your intent had been perfected, as you would perfect a tone, that by perfecting your intent in response to what led you to compassion, you found out that in every place after your intent is formed, it didn't matter what kind of music it was. Certain tempos lead to, a greater effect. But I'm saying, didn't matter what kind of music it was. Didn't matter if somebody was singing one of their songs. It had to do with your intent to reach someone through the playing and the vibration of the instrument, that they would sense your intent. Because it turned out the most important thing was your presence, your willingness, and the intent, which is totally an internal thing. You're not announcing your intent. Hey, I'm going to heal you. But some people do say that. Well, Bruce Springsteen would say that. Heal you people, But what I'm saying about the intent is, as in the perfection of tone. A perfected tone is the tool of the nada. The nada Brahma is the tool, is the perfected tone and the intent. And the example given in the nada Brahma was one note from the great master Pablo Casals. In other words, by playing one note in his intent with the bow, you could feel his intent. And that was to bring the vibration of the cello into a healing place that a person could feel. Turned out that music is so holographic that if you've perfected your intent and you're playing, you could be playing a ditty, but if your intent is to offer something that would make children laugh, or a person have a little bit of a lift, just a little one, that intent is what made it happen. Not your cleverness, or your musical figures or anything like that. And this is a theme that is shown again and again, is that your humble intent forms something that is in the vibration and is felt in the receiver, not even in the qualities of what you're doing. You do it a certain way, very simple, but they can sense your intent. They say there's a certain presence. And this is shown to me many times.
It almost goes back to the observed and the observer. Maybe the observer, it's the intention of observing, and it kind of all, as above, so below again. It all corresponds that way.
Yeah. I mean, the intent of making the offering of healing vibration, and then the intent of making yourself available to that healing vibration. In other words, the presence of the observer, the experience of the observer, that's not something going out and something coming back. That's not a reflection. It's all happening at once.
Yeah.
And it's, in a way, that's also liberating. That's the beauty of it. It means that as soon as people see a cello, they hear it. You weren't really hearing this instrument, and you could hear it. Because you want it. You're ready to hear it.
Ready.
You're ready to hear it. And that readiness, that presence, that turns out to be the healing impulse of the viewer. I make myself present to this shamanic place. If they're not paying attention, you bring them to a place where they are paying attention. And that's actually what Victor does.
Yeah. Yeah.
He'll get your attention by playing something that's so brilliant, you can't ignore it. But then he brings it all back into another place where he plays into a gentler place. You've seen him do it. It's lyrical. He may have a little percussion or something, but he returns to a place that's so lyrical and so healing. You go, thank you, Victor. That's all you can say. Thank you, Victor. He charged you up with this spectacular, brilliant passage. And then he puts it into this undulating kind of place where it's healing vibration. And you go, oh, thank you, Victor. That's how he does it. And yet they all go together, and you don't have, he doesn't have to characterize himself in any kind of manner. He is the chosen one who is in the presence of his destiny and is in that place. And, that's why we have the spirit of music.
Mm.
And thank you for this gift of being able to, go into some of these things, because this isn't an interview, it's a discussion.
Yeah. And I know it's been a while. I don't know if you have a couple more minutes. I did want to ask about, you checked out a little bit about that Hermeticism stuff. And, that it seems like there were a lot of ancient people in a lot of different places, Egypt, India, and South America, wherever, who came up with a lot of the same things that you wouldn't ordinarily think of if you're just walking around on Earth like a human today. But they're kind of profound. They really describe how life is. And it ties in with all this quantum physics stuff that we're learning about. And the Hermeticism, which the principles are just basically, I'm going to zip through them. The first one, mentalism, all is mind. Everything is mind, everything is mental. The second one, as above, so below, as within, so without, correspondence, as we've discussed a little bit. The third one, vibration, everything is vibration. My God, that's all we've talked about here is vibration, in a way. The fourth one is one that Victor talks about all the time. It's sort of the yin yang, the polarity. And one of the things I learned from learning more about Hermeticism was understanding a bit more about what Victor's talking about, but that all opposites are the same and only differ by matter of degree. Hot and cold, it's hot and then it's cold, but cold is hot to colder and like that. And that the next one is rhythm. This would be Roy's thing. All life is constantly back and forth and back and forth, and not just the waves of the ocean, but, politics and emotions and this and that and everything. One of my favorite ones is the sixth one, cause and effect. Basically, there are no coincidences. And to me, when you start recognizing coincidences and spontaneity, man, it's like you're home free, because all of a sudden, every time you meet somebody or something happens, you're like, yay, whoa, this is an amazing thing that I can, that I now have the opportunity to do. No coinkydinks is what I call it. And the last one, which just doesn't surprise me, but does surprise me, and masculine and feminine energies are throughout the universe, the outward push and the inner receptive, intuitive thing. And when a friend of mine told me about Hermeticism, which I haven't really, not that many people around have heard about, it does tie in, I think, with some of the other ancient teachings, but also it just seems like, wow, this is a good picture of what life is about. It's not, life sucks and then you die and go to hell. It's like, whoa, miracles happening all the time. A friend of mine lives in Costa Rica, and he says people come down and say, oh man, I'm looking for magic and passion in my life. And he says, how much magic and passion can you stand in life? And so I think Hermeticism, really, those principles is a great perspective to have. So do you have just thoughts of how you tie this in, or anything in particular you want?
Well, there's thing going on now, Jefferson, with finding joy and even realization in ordinary life, and that a long history of people seeking these transcendental kind of realities. It turned out that in the end, people were having greater success with a very calm and deeply observant nature that allowed them to see a pattern of an infinitely repeating pattern of miracles throughout everyday life. That the things that we are experiencing have all arisen out of a miraculous and vibrant, living reality that we are gifted with. And this is in a realm of physical reality where it's a miracle that there's life. It's a miracle that there are living things. It's a miracle that there are sentient beings in this time that couldn't find each other. That the pattern of miracles that is shown through the careful observation of everyday life turned out to be the way to do it.
Yes.
And my message to people is that once we have discussed something like Fonging for the world, Fonging for the soul, that what we're referring to is a vibrational realm that I told you, I was just walking through downtown, and then I came to this great big metal power pole.
Oh,
and I put my ear up against it and I tapped it, and it was the biggest Fong apparatus you've ever heard. It went on for all minute. It was like pong.
You did tell me. I forgot to do that.
As I'm speaking with you now, my voice, the vibration of my voice is going inside this instrument and is making all four strings vibrate with all the harmonics of this instrument because I tuned it up, tuned it real good. But I didn't use a tuning fork to tune it. If I measure this note, and then I hear it and I go, oh, it went down a little bit. I'm going to bring it up a little bit. That movement of the tuner to make the string come up to where it's pleasing to my ear is because even though I haven't struck the violin or played it, I already know where this violin wants to be in its relation to itself. Once I do this, that's not guaranteed to be a 440. It probably isn't. But when I strike the other strings and they are all in this relation, which allows all the harmonics of the instrument to respond to all the different notes of my voice up and down. It's almost like this violin is responding to my voice with a perfectly formed Fong. So my voice is the striker. The strings and the acoustic properties of this violin are the Fong. When I hear this vibration of my voice coming back to me from the inside of the violin, oh, it's very pleasing. It makes you feel like a god.
Now I know why you do that.
It's like I'm sitting here and I'm hearing the violin reverberating in resonance, reverberation. These are what we are witnessing in our reality. Resonance, reverberation, and then there's something else, which is called interference. But that's a word that's used mostly in football. Interference does figure into things, Jefferson. So we have interference, resonance, harmony, and that we characterize these things because some of them, especially certain harmonies, if they're perfectly done, other tones emerge. You ever heard of that?
Yeah, some friends of mine do barbershop harmony singing as women.
Yeah.
And they said one of the greatest things is you got four people singing and all of a sudden there's this fifth voice.
Right.
Yeah.
You cannot do this except with stringed instruments, brass or woodwinds. And they have to be, it helps if they're the same instrument. But I'm saying stringed instruments or voices, and it's usually not a number greater than 4. Because they got to get it right. When the monks get it right, they call it the voice of the Virgin. In other words, when they sing their harmony perfectly, another note emerges that none of them are singing. And it has to do with the perception of tones in the human body. But it also apparently has to do with the nature of sacred geometry and tones. So all these things are real, and we have a sensing organism. And human beings, I tell you, primitive compared to the brain of a dolphin. A dolphin has an enormous amount of sensing that we will never know.
Well,
and
well, we may have lost some of that. I mean, remember Victor brings the animal communicators to spirit camp and talk about it in terms of, humans did have this ability to sort of communicate telepathically or whatever with animals, and of course we do with one another. You see it, the more you recognize it.
Yeah.
So we may have lost some of that, but I'm not disputing what you're saying about the dolphins.
Human beings, the evolution of modern humans. Oh man, you look into that. That is like miracle of miracles, my brother. That human beings even exist is a miracle of miracles. And that we exist as we are is unbelievable. It's just like you got to go with it.
Gotta
We're
go
living
with it.
miraculous existence in a miraculous reality that doesn't come along all that often.
I mean, I've been sort of seeking to find out about it and also to tell what I know. I wrote a book one time called Heaven is Everywhere, not from a religious perspective, but just, oh my God, how much magic and passion can you stand? And maybe the point of our conversation and why I love talking with you so much and hearing your insights is because when you can learn a little more about this vibrational, amazing world, it's not so bad. You can really...
Oh, that's why people love to chant. They love to hear the tambura. They love to hear the shruti box. They love the harmonium. And like this place of like, look at all the most ancient cultures. Man, they have a lot of singing. Everybody sings. Everybody sings.
Drumming, dancing.
Now, today's world, singing is viewed as a talent when really all human beings are born to sing.
Yep.
All human beings are born to dance.
Yep.
Even a few minutes of even fake dancing. Hey, just that one place of saying, hey, get jiggy with it. That one place is what brings people back into the fold. That's why hillbillies are so happy.
And we have all these music shamans who could help us. So thank you, Michael. This has been a great conversation. We probably should let our listeners go whenever they're listening.
We're coming back with this, and thank you for today because we're just touching on some things, but even from one or two things that we have just named, a person can go out into the world and experience a way of sensing, a way of hearing things that didn't exist before they were offered. The vibration coming from a place of intent. With me, it happened when I fortunately was able to get a ticket to hear Ravi Shankar. And as I listened to that concert, when I went back outside afterwards, the entire sound of the entire city of New York sounded like a giant tambura.
Wow. Well, I sure love that my friend Raj playing the sitar at the music ashram.
Oh, yeah.
If you can get there, or anybody who's watching, you're always welcome to Devi Music Ashram in Rishikesh. All right. Thank you very much, Michael. And until next time. Until soon.
Thank you, Jefferson. Namaste.
Namaste.